Everyone, and welcome back to the channel for another Wargaming terrain tutorial. Under everyone's advice, I'm still taking it fairly easy, so this week's build is going to be a simple one. I hope you enjoy it. I don't want to spend too much time talking here. So like, subscribe, all that shit, and let's get stuck into it. Hey everyone, thanks again for joining me for another build. Now this week I'm going to be building using the Army Painter GameMaster box here. You'll be able to easily replicate this build with other tools and materials by using a similar process as you'll see me use here today, but I'm going to be trying to build just out of this box set. So the wonderful guys over at Army Painter sent me this to take a look at a while ago, but with my shitty health recently, I'm only just now getting to take a look at it. But they're not paying for this video or anything like that, so we're not doing an unboxing or review or anything. But I am going to end up using most of what's in here, so you get to see what we got and how it all ended up coming together. Now this set, I have to say, is pretty comprehensive. It will give you pretty much everything you need to start some builds. The cool thing about the book they have there is the QR codes inside, so anything you see in the book that you might want to try and do yourself, there's generally a QR code that'll link to a video and a tutorial for it. So it's really great value in that sense, I think. Now this hot wire foam cutter that comes with it, I originally, when looking at it, I honestly didn't think it was much chop, but having since used it, honestly, I would definitely buy this thing. Being cordless, it is really good. It doesn't have a very wide cut as my other handheld one does, but being cordless and just being able to pick this up and cut anything at any time, just do some quick trimming, it's very handy. Honestly, looking at it, I probably wouldn't buy it separately, but after using it, honestly, I'd definitely buy one of these if I saw it on the shelf and I didn't now have one. But as you can see here, making these cuts is really simple. You just press down on the button on the hot wire foam cutter there and it heats it up and you just start making some cuts. I've made some basic bases there. I'm going to build up on some of those, but I'm using the offcuts, as you can see here, to make some little levels. You can obviously make these larger and a bit more playable. I'm just trying to use up some of these offcuts and stuff and make some little hills. I'll probably even put some other levels in here before I put these little pieces on everywhere. Here I'm just trying to cut a little kind of a spire, I guess, as you can see, to sit on top. That worked really well, so I'm going to keep that. I could probably do more of those, and honestly, with what's in the box as far as foam goes, I could make probably 5 or 6 times as much as what I'm going to make here today for you guys. I wanted to save some of this foam just to make some other stuff down the track. I got some really good ideas for it. So yeah, I didn't want to use it all today on this build, but I honestly could have made a bunch more of these. You can see there in the background I've got some green foam. I just wanted to test out the foam cutter on some different sort of foam I had, and I've done exactly the same thing there, just built up a couple of layers of 30mm foam, which is that green stuff, and I've just built up some hills and just wanted to see how the hot wire foam cutter would get through it, and it's done a great job, so I was really happy with that. Here I'm just building up some of these little rock walls, I guess you could call them. I'm just using strips of this foam, and I'm going to glue those together to build up probably 3 layers high, just enough to provide some cover or partial cover for units on the tabletop. So I've just cut some bits there that are 1.5 inches and 1 inch wide, just so they can sit on top of each other. Now the kit from Army Painter here does come with glue. This is called foam sculpting glue. It sort of looked a bit like PVA, but I think it's a lot tackier than that, and I don't think it dried clear. But it worked really well for gluing this foam together, and the wire foam cutter still cut through it when I need to make some adjustments down the track. So I was really happy with that. Now, as I mentioned at the start of the video, you can replace a lot of these tools and materials and still come up with the same sort of thing. I think the first few of these I ever made, this was ages ago, was just with a foam and craft knife and just making cuts. Slowly and carefully. It was really messy, but it was still very effective. This, I have to admit, is a lot quicker with a hot wire foam cutter, but it's still very easy to replicate this with a knife. There is a knife included with this box set. You might have seen me use it to cut the straight edges. It's a very basic knife, but it worked well. It's just a sharp edge, so as long as you're careful with it and use it properly, it'll come up fine. The sheets of foam included in the box, I think, was 2 A3 sheets and about 6 A4 sheets, which was quite a lot. I could make a lot more of these if I wanted to. I'm saving some of that foam though for another build. I think you can get this stuff separately as well, so a lot of the tools and materials you'll see here are actually available separately through Army Painter. Hopefully I'll be able to get my hands on a little bit more of this foam, because it is really cool to use. I can't get this sort of stuff at the moment, especially not in those sizes. Now to add a little bit more texture to the bases or these hills, we're going to use the included sand from GameMaster here. Now I've also gone out into my backyard here and grabbed myself some what I would say are medium to large size rocks for this scale. And this was just, just rocks out of the backyard, so don't worry too much about that. That was just to add a little bit more variety to what we're going to be adding here. I just used the foam glue that they included again, just trying to make sure everything is what's in the box, apart from these little rocks from the backyard, but I figured they're easy enough to find. The sand here is quite coarse, and it does work quite well as a medium between, having either very fine sand or no sand, and those medium to large size rocks I've glued on there. Everything seemed to glue down really well. You do have to be a little bit more careful, I found, with this foam glue. Probably best to use some PVA glue if you've got it around, but the foam glue was fine. You just have to be careful because, like I said, it doesn't act the same, I think, as PVA, where it sort of shrinks more and dries very clear. This stuff was still fine to use, so I wasn't too worried about it. Now, I was really excited to use this stuff. This is sprayable foam primer, so really happy. This comes in the box. I believe they have a few different colors of this as well, so you don't need this one. You can buy them separately, I think. And this worked really well. So it seemed to go on very thick, but very, very well covered and very well coated with that stuff. I look forward to using it again. They also include a dungeon base. We do have a little palette and some brushes here. I really like the brushes, actually. They were a good selection. There's 3 in there, and I think this was good sort of terrain brush selection. And I'm using that base just to put a bit of a dry brush over the primer we put on, and this went on really well. Not much I can really say about this. I'm not a professional painter, but as far as my experience with this sort of thing and coating terrain, this worked great. I mean, it's great to have a couple of large bottles of that that grey primer in there, because you do tend to go through it, especially when you're doing terrain like this. Now I'm using the medium-sized brush and just putting on a few highlights over the top of this. And this will just bring out some of those edges a little bit more, and I think the rock texture is looking pretty good so far. I'm also going to try out a little bit of the wash that's included in this box set, and the final steps I'll take on the build will just be to give it that wash, give it a little bit more of a dry brush, and finally add some grass tufts to this one. Now, as we come to the end of this build, I just want to say this box set for a complete beginner, or if you're starting from zero, this was perfect. This feels like a plastic model kit more than it feels like a box of bits to put together. You can really, like I said, using the QR codes and stuff like that, you can really just look up some things to make and just copy it directly. I mean, there's the tutorials. The great thing about this is the tutorials are one-to-one, so if you see a thing in the book that comes with this, or if you go to the Army Painter YouTube channel, you'll see these guys have a bunch of tutorials for things you can make. And if you're just looking for some more materials, something you've seen in this video that you want to use or try out for yourself, check out the Army Painter website. You should be able to find most of these tools and materials available separately. Thanks everyone for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this one. Thank you for bearing with me for a very basic video. As I said, I'm taking it a little bit easy, so I'm trying to take advantage of some of these things I have here to get through. Thank you very much to my Patreon supporters as well. You guys are fantastic. I really appreciate you guys watching, and if you're still with me, you are the best. Thanks very much, and I will see you guys in the next video.